Autobots waging battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons. Hey, it's the hardest part of the ring. I just broke something in 2 seconds. That went great. That went splendid. That went swimmingly. Crazy cats, wild savages jumping off the walls, bouncing off the ceiling. Hip to that scene, down like a clown, out of here like Vladimir, chilling like Bob Dylan on penicillin. Hey, we're talking about the Hulu edition, not the live edition, not the 3-hour God help you edition of the first Raw of 2021. This is the Hulu edition of the Legends Night. Now, what does Hulu edition mean? It means it's a 90-minute action. There was no action. There was some good action on this, actually. That means if there were any segments with any of the Legends, they only included the ones where Randy Orton was threatening them. And so, this was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And it had 2 great matches on it, which is a shame. Well, the thing at the end, it's Goldberg. That's the thing at the end we all want to talk about and complain about. I will as well. But before we get to that, let's go through the Hulu version. Let me tell you what they showed us on Hulu. So if I don't mention it, and I'll tell you right now, I saw no Mickie James, no Molly Holly, no Taka, no Tori Wilson. Didn't know Ron Simmons was there until the very end. And no Irwin R. Shyster. And I definitely didn't see Alexa Bliss, who they told us was alive, call Uncle Irwin R. Shyster Uncle Irwin or something like that, or Gramps. They miss this opportunity every time. Even if Fiend isn't supposed to be there, then we'll hold off on IRS and bring him back when he should be in the funhouse. He should be the wacky guy who knocks on the door at the funhouse and tells them to pay their taxes, and then they give him the claw, whatever the fuck, I don't know. God, it's stupid they don't do it. Does Bo Dallas still work there? What are they doing? Anyway, his sister breaks Micah Rotunda. She doesn't work there, obviously. She's physically fit. She's a muscular, sexy gal. I should not have said that. I did. Oh well. Okie dokie. Well, moving on. We opened the show, the Hulu edition of Raw, January 1st, 2021, with Hulk Hogan slamming Andre the Giant. We do. It's still in the signature. And then after the signature, we had the first real opening of Raw, is a cell phone with a Hulk Hogan cover on it. And it's a terribly unfunny commercial for the H phone instead of the iPhone. And Hulk Hogan tells us you can use this phone for Facebook and Instagram into it. As if you can't do that with all the other phones in the last 10 years. And then he says you can call someone on the phone too and ask them what they're going to do when Hulkamania runs wild on them. Which I've tried and lost friends over. So don't do that. But we get away from the unfunny comedy and we move on to Miz TV. Oh, Jesus Christ. Morrison has given up, but he was entertaining. He was the best part of all of this, his chiming in and his, if we're going to be dumbasses, we're going to go full dumbass. It was absolutely tremendous. The New Day is their guest, and the New Day is only their guest to set up a match, a tag team match, to have for whatever the reason. But I do like the fact that there's wrestling matches on the show. But man, we took just as long to set up this match as we did to have this match. Eventually, Teddy Long, which was a fun surprise. I don't think he was advertised. Maybe he was. He shows up and he announces them fighting The Undertaker, which is hilarious. I didn't think they would make that joke. But obviously the tag team joke, we knew that was coming, and that's fine. And they have a tag team match, and I forgot how good Kofi Kingston is. Sometimes we forget. When he's on, he was doing great. I was confused. There's some dust on the keyboard. I was confused by this match a little bit. It didn't seem like before the hot tag, because I guess Kofi got the last hot tag to Woods before they started going home there. It didn't seem like any one of the 2 baby faces ever took any real heat. It was like Kofi was making his own comeback. And then he stopped himself with his own move. He hit that wacky, the Trouble in Paradise, the leg vine, both guys take a bump thing. So he just sold his own move, and then he crawled over for the hot tag. But the people exploded because they were piped in very well. So Morrison loses. I don't know if they're setting up another Miz Morrison kind of thing. It looks like Miz is getting annoyed with Morrison and et cetera, but I don't get what it is, why they have that duo, and they look at that duo and they're like, yeah, Miz is the guy we go with. I just don't understand it. Because they think he can act because he has his fake outrage blow-ups because he had one good one in 2016 and he's been reenacting that one ever since. And it was a good one, but I don't believe you after a while. Do it every week. Why did the first one mean something? Because at that point we'd seen him for like 6-7 years. And we never saw that from him. We believed him that one was real. But, okay. What the hell do I know? Just keep doing it until more people tune out. The NXT one I do is way more positive. I'm sorry. It's raw. I'm trying, guys. I'm trying to make the sadness funny here. The New Day wins the... Oh, they did the New Day was win the match. Match gets 89 stars. 89 stars. They did a wacky maneuver where Woods picks up Kofi in like a belly to back because Kofi was about to stomp Miz, and before he does, Woods picks him up, twirls him around, puts him back down, and Kofi does a stomp. And it's a bit outlaw mud showy, if you will. But at that point on this show, I'm like, if any, it's one of the rare moments on this show where anyone looks like they're enjoying any part of it. So I'm a little bit of a hypocrite, but on Raw, I give it more of a pass than I do on NXT. On Raw, I'm like, well, someone tried to have some kind of fun. Like when Morrison gets extra stupid on this show, he kind of gets dumber every week. He has that Homer Simpson complex where every week he's actually dumber than a week before. And normally, I'd roll my eyes and go, it's not wrestling. But if someone's trying to entertain us despite what they're given. So I let it go here. I'm like, well, you tried to make it fun, so I'll take it. You tried to make me smile while I wasn't smiling, so thanks. They show a package. Not a lot of huge dangling packages in this one. They filled this entire Hulu episode with every backstage segment you can imagine. About a dozen of them, and 11 of those had Randy Orton in them. Randy Orton is next in a backstage segment with Charlie Caruso, and he hates himself for not murdering Alexa Bliss. You heard what I said. And then we have Matt Riddle singing the big bro song. Riddle sings to the Big Show, and Orton shows up in the next backstage segment. And then Charlotte, Ric Flair, and Asuka enter the Thunderdome to wrestle Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. And I thought this was a missed opportunity. I thought interaction between Asuka and Ric Flair would have been fun, and what an excuse to do it because, of the match that we're having. She's tagging with his daughter, so... And they didn't do any of that. I think Asuka kind of walked right by Flair, which is a shame because they kind of thought Asuka walking by Flair and doing his strut or something, like just something real quick. Like you don't need a backstage segment out of it, just a 3-second... a little fun thing, and those are the things that people actually remember more and make them smile more because they're a little more spontaneous, or maybe they're planned, they feel more spontaneous. It's a little thing, and they didn't do it. I would have loved it if Asuka hit a bunch of her moves early on, did her kicks and her flying butt thing, and then did like a Flair strut. Like that would have been cool, but they didn't do that. Instead, Lacey Evans is obsessed with having intercourse with Ric Flair. And this was hard. I mean, it wasn't a bad match, but I mean, the story of this match was the Lacey Evans Flair thing, and they kept going back to it, so that was the match they kind of had to have. I was actually surprised it was Peyton who got the pin on Charlotte after all that, but I'm surprised Charlotte was pinned at all, but we need to set up contenders for this, so it was interesting. They did Flair not on. I don't read my notes. There was a wonderful slap from Charlotte to Lacey Evans at the first instance of this, and you could just hear it. And Lacey Evans, she's a Marine, she's double tough. I always kind of felt Lacey Evans, they kind of, I don't like to say dropped the ball, but I think they dropped the ball. They missed the idea with her. She's a Marine, she's tough. We know she's a mom. She had her 8-year-old daughter on TV like a year or two ago, so the kid's probably 9-ish, something like that right now. We know she's a mom, she's a Marine, she's double tough. You don't got to play off the nasties, which is kind of like a MAGA type of thing. She doesn't need to be over the top Southern, because Vince has this obsession, this love-hate relationship with Southern people, and loves blondes. So we don't need any of that. We know she can. We know she's an ass kicker. I think like a female Corporal Kirshner would be kind of cool. But you got to make her baby face though, and that's a hard thing because you MAGA her up as a heel, and then you go to half the country's going to boo her, and half the country's going to. Well, the country's not going to do anything right now because they're not there, so you can just pipe in whatever the hell you want. I don't know. It was a missed mark. I don't think they could kind of be vague about the political aspect of it, but she's a believable badass. God damn it. The announcers could at least mention it once or twice. I don't know. Peyton does get the pin here on Charlotte Flair. So Lacey Evans, to my recollection, watches. She distracts Ric Flair enough, and Flair is supposed to trip Peyton. He trips Charlotte instead. Peyton rolls up Charlotte in the crucifix. 168 stars this match gets. And Charlotte had to be mean to Ric Flair again, which always makes me sad, but it's believable. Then after the segment's over, I'm like, oh, they got me. Because I get sad when she's mean to Ric Flair. And I know she doesn't want to be mean to Ric Flair. No one wants to be mean to Ric Flair. But I believed her. And it healed her up a bit, so maybe, I don't know. Where was Asuka during all this, during this whole exchange? I don't know what happened. We go backstage. Drew McIntyre is talking to Sheamus, and Sheamus is wishing him luck. And Sheamus apparently did not have a match on his episode, at least the Hulu version, so why is he back there? But anyway, especially with COVID-19 restrictions. Never mind, let's get all the old people in here during COVID times. Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart both show up, and they kind of make fun of Sheamus. And then Drew poses with Hogan. And of course, everyone on the internet made this joke already. Of course, Hogan's not going to cheer for Keith Lee for racial reasons. So can't really call it a sex tape. It was taken illegally, but whatever you want to call it. Is rather scandalous, and a tape with the racial slurs on it, which was really bad. But listen, that's going to taint Hogan forever, whether you like it or not. I don't have a lot of sympathy for the Hulkster. I'm not interested in going out of our way to go after him. We got him, but I don't know. I think it's naive to think the entire audience is just going to accept him forever, the same way that they did before, because they're not. It has been tainted. Okay, the legacy is it's got a big dent in it. A lot of people can overlook it, and a lot of people can't. I'm a little uneasy. I don't mind his appearance or existence or showing up, but I think sparingly, and we haven't seen him in a bit, obviously, so this is fine. That's a tough one. Drew and Hogan pose. Wasn't really into it. We've done this with Hogan and other baby faces, but Hogan did, put over Drew as a champion during tough times, and I think that was important. That was kind of important to say. So, it wasn't too bad. Again, it wasn't that long. This one wasn't that long, so it didn't matter. Matt Riddle and Bobby Lashley have a match. This was my second. I thought this was going to be my favorite match of the show. It ended up being my second favorite match. Riddle attacks Bobby early, which normally I'd scratch my head and go, babyface. But, they had him be so goofy and so aloof, and now they're trying to sell it like he's actually a little bit smarter than that, and he's kind of playing us for fools. And that's interesting. I like that. And I liked this match. I don't think this thing was more than 3-4 minutes, but it was hard-hitting. It was believable that these two don't like each other. It was believable that Lashley would be annoyed. There was, and it accomplished something. So I put an asterisk next to my notes, and I said, this match accomplished something. This match showed us that Riddle is stepping up his game and taking the U.S. title seriously. And it pissed off Bobby Lashley, who hasn't been pissed off in a long time. The previous 3 weeks, he beat Jeff Hardy with his full Nelson. So he's got nothing, never defends the thing. He's got nothing to be pissed off about. Now he's got something to be pissed off about. And he looked believably pissed off. they did a finish where I guess Riddle was in the hurt lock, but he kind of bounced off the ropes and the referee ducked, and Riddle taps to get Lashley to let it go, with knowing the referee won't see it, and then rolls up Bobby during the argument, and then powders out because he's got MVP and Big Bobby Lashley to deal with in there. So it was cool to have him give the big monster heels a bit of a fuck you there. Which we don't see. We don't see many happy moments on. We didn't see many happy moments after that on this show. Because next we go to Mark Henry talking to Ricochet. Ricochet walks away, and his second Ricochet is out of frame. Orton is into frame on the other side, so Orton and Ricochet should only be like 6 feet apart, but Ricochet doesn't come back to defend Mark Henry. Apparently, he's going to pretend he's completely out of earshot, which he can't be. That's physically impossible. Mark Henry's on a scooter. I guess he's got a bad leg. From the angle, it looked like he had one leg for a bit, and I kind of freaked out, but I think we would have heard that. I think he just had he hurt himself or he had surgery or something. I don't know, but hopefully whatever's going on, Mark Henry's moving around better soon. So Orton does the thing where he threatens Mark Henry and tells Mark Henry to leave. Mark Henry doesn't leave, so because we see him later fist pounding Keith Lee. So what was the point of that? He just got him out of the hallway? Get out of my hallway, you. Next, we see IRS talking to Molly Holly for literally 3 seconds. They were interrupted by Ric Flair. And then who was interrupted by Randy Orton. I'm glad we consumed so many promos for Legends Night for 2 or 3 weeks. All the Legends we're going to see for 2 seconds before we see Randy Orton chase people away. And again, I'm sure there was more wackiness on Hulu. I know there was some 24/7 changing and stuff like that. But they didn't show any of it on this show. They just showed Orton after Orton after Orton. So Orton yells at Ric Flair, because we're not done yelling at Ric Flair. Then Riddle wishes luck to Keith Lee, and Riddle was funny here. I like it. Love you, bro. It was great. And then Randy Orton has to have a match after having the whole show. He defeats Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy's like Rey Mysterio. He can lose every week, and he'll never lose his status with the people, so it's fine. Orton wins with the RKO. This match gets 4,000 stars. I mean, they had their usual match. It was fine. Now we have Drew and Keith Lee in the Thunderdome, where Drew summons the Thundercats. Good finish and good match. Yeah, I think this was the best Raw match showcasing Keith Lee yet. He does the Spanish Fly. There was even a stumble up top, and it didn't matter, because that's when you know a good worker is someone who recovers from a stumble, or I hate saying botch, because that's so obnoxious to internet fans. It's botch. There's nothing. They don't know what a botch is. But they had a little trip, Keith was doing some leapfrogs, and one of them didn't quite take, so he just dropped. I heard him grunt something, and he just dropped down, and then Drew kept going, of course. I mean, they're professionals. They obviously know what they're doing. And then they went into, I think Keith stayed in the middle, and Drew took the bump off the tackle. This was good. This was really good. I mean, I think we all knew Drew wasn't losing it, but at the same time, it was competitive. I think it helped Keith Lee. They did just one finish, did the one Claymore, and they had Drew in serious trouble. And Drew wasn't just in serious trouble because he took this move and that move. He sold with his body and his face like he was in serious trouble. Drew sold as much as he could to help Keith Lee. So I like Drew McIntyre. He did everything he could for Keith Lee here in a situation. Our favorites can't win all the time. Keith Lee's one of my favorites. I mean, might be my favorite guy on the show. I like Drew, but I like Keith. I think in my head, because I know Keith is like 36, 37, something like that. I think in my head, because I'm 40, I want him to have his shot. I think it's because I think Drew's a couple of years younger. I think Drew's 35, I think. So, I don't know. Maybe that might be just a thing with me, but, so I want Keith to have his moment. Unfortunately, a year ago I would have said, yeah, next year Keith should win the Rumble and go, but now I actually don't think so. because I think he lost momentum. Once he came to Raw, he lost all this momentum. I think it needs to be rebuilt because the thing I don't want to happen to Keith Lee is for the fans to do to Keith what they did to Roman for years and Cena for years, and anytime they tried to turn Sheamus babyface, real babyface, not the kind of technicality babyface he is now. Anytime the fans have just turned on those guys and shit, I don't want that happening to Keith Lee. So that's why I actually don't want Keith Lee winning the Rumble and being in a main event of WrestleMania right now. On the other hand, there's no fucking fans there, so it really wouldn't happen. Actually, we're just going off the internet. Anyway, Drew picks up the microphone. He's clearly about to say something nice to Keith Lee, and he can't even get the champion who just won this impossibly hard match, can't get a word out, because we have to hit Goldberg's music, and you could hear... when Alderaan, the planet Alderaan, was destroyed and Obi-Wan has to sit down because suddenly he feels like a million voices were screaming in anguish and then suddenly silenced. I think even with no fans there, that's how I felt when Goldberg's music hit. Because we all knew what was happening here. So the champion can't even get a word out. Goldberg proves that he has not watched the show, and this is why fans know Goldberg doesn't care. He sells nothing. I'm not just talking about moves and bumps. I'm talking about promos facially. He never is surprised or shocked or acts threatened by anyone else. He's Captain Marvel. He's going to be badass beginning, middle, end, and there's no arc. So I can't stand him. He doesn't look that threatening right now. He looks like annoying neighborhood tough guy right now. I want to fight him. That's what I say. I want to fight Goldberg right now. I'll lose, but I'll win in victory. I'll win in defeat. It's good booking. Be good for me. Do nothing for him. Okay, how do we do this? We know what happens. Goldberg. Well, they don't. This is the part they're not replaying because Goldberg's promo made no sense. He showed he hasn't been watching the show because he says Drew's had no respect for any of the legends. And he thinks that they're all washed up. Drew McIntyre never said or did anything close to that. He's actually been doing the opposite for 2 or 3 weeks. Who wrote that? Who told him to say that? Who let it go? Did they just tell Goldberg, well, the legends can say what they want, so we have to script all the new guys? Well, good. This legend isn't watching a fucking show. Fuck. Not paying attention. He said he just went out and told lies. So if I'm a fan watching this, and I'm somebody. Well, I don't know if I'm a fan anymore. I'm watching this, going, this. Why am I cheering for Goldberg in this babyface match, which you're trying to sell me as? Because Goldberg came out and just told a bunch of lies. Goldberg is the asshole stand-up comic who shows up right before his set. He's the 6th or 7th asshole on the show, and asked the couple in the front row how long they've been dating, when every other comic did that already, and every member in the audience already knows the answer is 3 months and they met online, and they know his job, they know her job, and yada yada yada. And the audience groans, but the comic shows, the comedian, stand-up comedian is when I say comic, sorry. The comedian just showed up to their set and then thinks that the world just started because they just showed up. Like we were all anxiously waiting for them to show up. Like we weren't doing fine beforehand. That's what Goldberg just did to this fucking program. So Drew, and again, see, this is the thing when Goldberg doesn't sell anything. Drew says the remark about fighting, it would be like fighting my dad, and Goldberg does the fake laugh that Lesnar and Taker did like 5 years ago, and Drew does it back, which I thought it was kind of actually funny, but because at that point it was just so stupid. But Goldberg can't even sell angry like Drew got him. He can't even show facially like weakness, like, oh, that pissed me off. I'm upset about that. I didn't deserve that. He's like, nope, not intimidated. What's the point? He did the same shit with The Fiend. He did the same shit with Roman. What's the point? So he pushes Drew, and Drew falls on his ass. I'm so glad Drew didn't take like a bump. He just kind of fell on his ass. And Drew gets up, and I like this because Drew's a big boy. And to me, he's a legitimately tough guy. I mean, I don't know anything about like an MMA fighting background. I just know he's a big, tough dude. He doesn't seem to mind getting hit and hitting. So
He does the forehead into Goldberg's head, but he went up. It was practically a headbutt where he just kept his head there, and I loved it. I'm like, oh, good. Because you can see a little surprise on Goldberg's face, like, this guy's not gonna just lay down, And I dug it. I kind of dug it. So they're gonna have the stupid match at the Royal Rumble. Everyone's afraid that Goldberg wins the thing just so they can finally do Goldberg, Roman, and Rhea and unite the damn titles. I'm so scared of that happening. I'm really scared of that happening. This is what I would have done with the Legends. I mean, first of all, as crazy as it sounds, because I know the internet fans aren't big on Sheamus, because of the time we've invested in it, Drew versus Sheamus actually is the more interesting match. Because we've been wondering when Sheamus is going to turn on his friend. We've been seeing the jealousy. We're planting seed after seed after seed. We're planting more seeds than Ric Flair in the 80s. Well, Bob, stop it right now. No, because that's a story we're invested in. That's what we've been watching. We haven't even cared or thought about Goldberg since he lost to Braun at WrestleMania weekend last April. So I looked through the comments. I'm running long here. Good. I'm running long here. I don't care. Put more work into this than Goldberg did into his research and his promo and his inevitable match. So whatever. Goldberg at the Raw. Where was I going with this? I got upset. I get very upset sometimes. We put all our time and energy into looking at when is Drew and Sheamus going to explode. But we haven't thought about Goldberg since. Here's what I would do. Booking with Bob. This is a new segment. Booking with Bob, okay? This is what Bob would do. No one ever listens to Bob. Have you seen my podcast numbers? Literally, no one listens to Bob. This is what I would have done. Drew has at least a second to thank and appreciate Keith Lee. Goldberg, music. He walked, and by the way, Goldberg didn't even look at the legends. You just disrespected all the legends. He didn't look at them. Keith Lee gave the fist bump to Mark Henry. Drew McIntyre was putting over the legends for weeks, and he did the segment with the Hulkster. What do you mean he doesn't respect the legends? It didn't make any sense, and everyone watching it knows it didn't make any fucking sense. So we're supposed to believe Goldberg. It has nothing to do with this. Anyway, Goldberg does what he does. He does his entrance. At least Drew gets to say something to put over Keith, because Keith just vanished over thin air once the music, Goldberg's music hit. Hell, I think Keith should have walked up the ramp and not moved when Goldberg came. And Goldberg could have gotten all his face and blew smoke out of his nose or whatever, right? And Keith Lee should just not budge. Fuck him. He doesn't have to attack Goldberg. Just don't budge. See what he does. That's what I would do right away. And then Goldberg gets in there. They have the same exchange. Goldberg says the same thing, proving he didn't watch the show. And then instead of the push on the ass and the headbutt, Drew says this. You know what? You say I have no respect. You say you can take me to today. Instead of taking me at the Rumble, why don't you take me right now? Let's get a referee, Goldberg. I'll tell you what. I'll save you the trouble. I'm next. Ring the bell. Spear. Uh-oh. Jackhammer. Uh-oh. 1, 2, 2 7/8 kick out. Attempted spear. Miss it. Hit the buckle. Claymore. Get up. Claymore. 1, 2, 3. Beats Goldberg. Thank you. I almost said Corny's line. Oh shit! See. I've been listening to him too much. But here's my reason for this. It teases the fans that they're going to see the same old shit they've been seeing for the last 2 years, but with Goldberg and Legends and not putting their new champions over and everything else. And at the last minute, we pull the rug out from under them again and say, nope. We're going with our real guys, the guys you actually watch every week, the guys you invest in. We're going in with them. We teased that it was going to be the same old shit, but the last minute, it wasn't. We left Goldberg. Goldberg showed up once in the same night. We left him laying. Drew's your guy. See you next week. And that's how I would have started 2021's Raw. We beat Goldberg shows up unadvertised, and we beat him. Why not? because you've already blown your load with 48 legends anyway. Speaking of blowing our loads, this thing is going along, and I have no idea if Hulu lets me run 30 minutes, so I'm going to find that out later. That'll be fun. What is the hardest part of the ring? I'll see you Thursday, hopefully not Friday, hopefully sometime Thursday for the Hulu NXT. Tip the veal and try the waitress.